Hey, so it's Mr. Tush over at Global, and today we're going to talk about styles, specifically how to put inline styles in your website. So what do I mean when I say style? Well, I'm going to get into some basic things today, like how to change a font's color, or how to change its size, or how to change the font itself, or how to get it to show up on the right instead of the left. And yes, I will show you how to change the background color of your page. Now, I am going to ask for a little bit of patience because in later videos, we're going to get even more advanced. We're going to talk about how to put a picture on the right side of the page or in the center, how to create hyperlinks so that we can have one web page connect to the next. And that's coming soon, so just be patient. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about. So I've got some HTML code in here that says this text is red. And I intend it to be red, but when it renders in the browser, it shows up as black. So it's very clear. You can see that even though I say it's red, the text is actually black. Well, how do I fix that? Well, I'm going to solve that problem by adding something to this right here, this p tag that says, hey, turn this text red for me. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my p tag and I'm going to leave it open for a second. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the word style and an equals sign. Next, I'm going to add a quotation mark. Next, inside the quotes, I'm going to put in the word color, and then a colon, that's the two dots, and then the word red, and then a semicolon, and then I'm going to close the quote. And finally, because I know my tag is still open, I'm going to close that tag off with the bracket going in the other direction. So now I'll take a minute to make sure that it's written correctly with the initial tag closed and then the entire p tag closed at the end with the slash. And if I've done it right, the text should now appear as red. If I change that color red to blue, we'll then render it in blue. So we're going to take a second and talk about something called syntax. Syntax is essentially code grammar. It is writing things in a very specific way so that the browser will do what you intend. And if the browser doesn't do what you're intending, the browser isn't getting the message exactly the way it needs to receive it. So the syntax for writing style is to put in the tag name. That could be the P, the H1, whatever it says with the bracket. The next code you're going to put in is the word style with an equal sign after it. And that says the next thing that you're going to read is a style declaration. The next thing I'm going to add is a quotation mark, and that quotation mark says, we're about to tell you what the style will be. The next thing we're going to add is something called the property declaration. And the property declaration tells the browser, okay, this is the next thing I'm going to adjust. It might be the color, it might be the font, but the property is the thing we're going to adjust. The next thing we're going to add after the colon is the value and a semicolon. So the first thing we're going to do is tell it what we're going to change. That's the property. And then we're going to tell it what we're going to change it to. That's the value. So we might say color and then red, or we might say font Helvetica, or we might say font size 100% or 200%. But the first one tells us what we're going to change, and the second one tells us either how much or what we're going to change it to. Then finally, we are going to close the quote and we're going to close the bracket because otherwise this tag won't work. All right, so let's take a look at the two lines side by side. At the bottom, we'll put the syntax model that we gave you. At the top, that's our actual code. Well, if you look, the tag name is P. I have the style code just like we taught you how to do it. The property I'm going to change is the color, and I'm going to change it to red. So the style is style, property connects to color, and value connects to red. Once the browser gets a hold of that code and the style tag says red, it will then render the text as red text. If I change the property's value to blue, the text will render in blue even though the text content itself says red because I've set the property to blue. So finally, I can use those styles to put more than one thing into a line of code. Here, for example, I'm changing the font to Courier, and then I'm changing the color to red, and it gives me the same red text, but now in a Courier font. You'll notice too that there's a line break in my code. Don't worry about the line breaks in code. It only reads the tags, not the line breaks in your code. So remember, to practice this, you can go over to w3schools.com, and I would go to the HTML styles page to practice how to do styles on your own. So finally, here's a really short list of some of the properties you could try to play with on your web page, and I'll show you what they affect. First, of course, there's color, and that's the one we tried in this video. The next one's background color. Background color is kind of cool because it affects everything that's inside that tag. So if you put it inside of a P tag or an H tag, it'll put the background just on what's in that tag. If you put it in the body tag, the background color will be applied to the entire page. Next, there's font family, and that, of course, affects the font choice. You could also have a little bit of fun with font size. Font size allows you to change the size of the text within a tag, and it's usually measured in pixels, although you could also use things like percents and ems, which we'll get into in later videos. And then there is text align, and text align will allow you to put a particular line of text in the right, center, or left of the page. So your challenge, take a look at that list and see if you can use at least 4 different text properties on a page. Practice it in W3 Schools, and then go see what you can do to implement it on your web page. Good luck.